Not gonna lie, I was a little worried about Reacher's Neagley spin-off at first, but Lee Child giving it his seal of approval totally changed my mind. So, let's break it down. What he said about it and everything we know so far about the spin-off series. Frances Neagley may be one of the best characters in Reacher, but I had my doubts when a spin-off following her was announced. Even though she's only appeared in 5 of the 29 Jack Reacher novels, Maria Sten has played her in every season of Reacher so far. She wasn't even in The Killing Floor, the book the first season was based on, but the showrunners wrote her in anyway, and she quickly became a fan favorite. By the time season 2 rolled around, Negley had an even bigger role, which made sense since Bad Luck and Trouble, the book it was adapted from, featured her prominently. The love for her character in the first 2 seasons proved that it didn't really matter whether she was in the original story, fans wanted more of her, and that's exactly what they're getting. Even though Negley isn't in the book Reacher Season 3 is based on, the show found a way to include her. She has a smaller role this time, but that's probably because she's about to get the spotlight in her own spin-off. It makes sense. Why sideline such a strong character when you can give her a series of her own? Still, I wasn't the only one who had concerns about a Negley-centric story. Even Lee Child, the guy who created her, had serious reservations. He'd refused to write a Negley spin-off for years, worried that diving too deep into her story would ruin her mysterious aura. In his own words, "I was nervous about doing it because the thing about her, it seemed to me, was that she's mysterious. She's unexplained. I didn't want to go too deeply into what made her who she is. I felt that would burst the bubble somehow, so I shied away from it." That's a pretty big reason to worry, right? If the author himself felt that giving Negley too much backstory could weaken her character, what would a full-blown spin-off do? But here's the thing, Child has since changed his mind. In fact, he admitted that he was wrong and even said he's jealous that Reacher showrunner Nick Santora is taking on the challenge he avoided for years. That's a huge vote of confidence. If Child thinks Santora has come up with an amazing idea, then maybe we're in for something really special. And let's be honest, if anyone can make a Negley spin-off work, it's Nick Santora. He's already done an exceptional job adapting Jack Reacher for Prime Video, proving that he understands these characters and what makes them tick. Still, Child has been writing Reacher stories since The Killing Floor came out in 1997, so his approval carries serious weight. If even he thinks the spin-off is a great idea, I'm willing to bet it's going to do Negley justice. That being said, the spin-off is still a bit of a gamble. Reacher has been a massive hit, but the question is whether a show without its title character can pull in the same kind of audience. If the Negley spin-off succeeds, it could open the door for even more Reacher-verse projects. We could see spin-offs for characters like Oscar Finley or Carla Dixon, both of whom have strong enough personalities to carry their own series. But before we get ahead of ourselves, Negley's show needs to prove that Reacher can thrive without, well, Reacher. So what do we actually know about the Negley spin-off? Right now, details are pretty scarce, but we do have a basic idea of the plot. Negley will be dealing with the death of a close friend, one that doesn't sit right with her. She starts digging and quickly realizes that something bigger is at play. From there, she uncovers a tangled web of lies, and knowing Negley, she's not going to let it go until she gets the full truth. That setup sounds like a perfect fit for her character. It lets her showcase her investigative skills while keeping the focus on her ability to work in the shadows. The real question is whether the show will dive into her backstory. Negley has always been a bit of an enigma, and a big part of her appeal is the fact that we don't know too much about her personal life. We know she's a skilled private investigator. We know she was a part of the 110th Special Investigations Unit, but beyond that, she's a mystery. The spin-off doesn't have to spell everything out, but it will likely give us glimpses of how she became the person we see in Reacher. And that's totally fine. Reacher itself does the same thing. Jack Reacher is also a mysterious character, but the show has found a way to explore his past without making him feel over-explained. If the Negley spin-off takes the same approach, it should be able to expand on her character without ruining what makes her so intriguing. The most logical way to approach Negley would be to set it alongside Reacher, following Frances Neagley as she tackles her own missions. When the spin-off was first announced in September 2024, almost nothing was shared about the storyline. Since Neagley only had a supporting role in one of Lee Child's novels, the show is basically working with a blank slate. Child's input can help keep it authentic to her character, but the series will mostly be forging its own path. When Amazon officially ordered the series in October 2024, we finally got some key details about the plot. The show kicks off with Negley reeling from the sudden and suspicious death of a close friend. Sensing that something doesn't add up, she starts digging and soon uncovers a tangled web of lies behind the incident. Using the skills she honed alongside Jack Reacher, Neagley sets out on a relentless mission to uncover the truth and deliver justice in her own way. At the end of the day, I get why some fans might still be skeptical. Taking a supporting character and making them the lead of their own show is always risky. But between Maria Sten's fantastic performance, Nick Santora's track record, and Lee Child's full support, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. If done right, Neagley's spinoff could prove that Reacher isn't just a one-character franchise, it's the start of a much bigger world. Returning to lead the cast of Negley is Reacher star Maria Sten, who completely stole the show as Frances Neagley in seasons 1 and 2 of the Lee Child adaptation. Her performance made Neagley a fan favorite, so her return was a no-brainer. There's no way this spin-off would work without her. Sten's sharp wit and no-nonsense attitude helped define the character, making her the perfect lead for the upcoming series. Alongside Sten, 5 new actors are officially joining the cast, adding even more depth to the story. Grayston Holt, best known for Bitten and The Night Agent, will play Detective Hudson Riley, bringing his experience with intense, action-driven roles. Jasper Jones, recently seen in King Ivory, will play Keno, adding some street-smart energy to the mix. Resident Evil and Chilling Adventures of Sabrina star Adeline Rudolph steps in as Renee, bringing her signature intensity. Matthew Del Negro, known for Goliath and The Sopranos, takes on the role of Pierce Woodrow, likely adding a seasoned, layered presence. Finally, Damon Harriman, who impressed in Mindhunter and Justified, has been cast as Lawrence Cole. Expect a performance filled with nuance and unpredictability. It's still unclear if any other Reacher cast members will make an appearance. So far, Alan Ritchson hasn't signed on to return as the heavily muscled action hero, but there's always a chance he could make a surprise cameo. However, given the new cast lineup, it looks like Neagley will mostly focus on fresh characters rather than relying on familiar faces from Reacher. If these actors bring their A-game, this series could be the start of something huge for Prime Video's Reacher universe. And that's all for today's video. If you want to stay up to date on everything happening in the Reacher universe, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. I'll be covering all the latest updates on Negley's spinoff, plus news on your other favorite shows and movies. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.